Hi, this is Rabbi Barras from Temple Beth in Pinecrest. Happy to share some ideas from this week's Torah portion of Acharei. Now, there's a halacha in the Shulchan Aruch from Rabbi Yosef Karo in Orach Chaim, which he says one should always endeavor to pray in the synagogue with the community. One who is forced such that he cannot go to the synagogue should specifically pray when the community prays, and one who is forced such that he or she did not pray with the community and he prays alone should still pray in the synagogue. Rabbi Karo is arguing in the Shulchan Aruch that it's always best to pray with the community, to be with the community, but even if you're not with the community and you are praying alone, it's better to be in a synagogue than not in a synagogue. And so the question is why? Isn't God everywhere? Doesn't God hear our prayers everywhere? In this week's Torah portion of Acharei, we learn about the concept of shchutei chutz, the idea that the sacrifices, once the Holy Temple would be built in the place that God would choose, then sacrifices could only be offered in the Holy Temple. Now we know that there were private sacrifices in different places in the years before the Holy Temple was built, but once the Temple was built, there was no more shchutei chutz, there were no more ability to offer sacrifices outside of the Holy Temple. And the question is, why? Why did sacrifices have to be only in the Holy Temple, and why is it better today that our prayers, which we pray as sacrifices, are better off in the Holy Temple, or in our synagogues? One of the things that we've learned over the course of the pandemic over the last couple of years is that it's possible to pray in different ways. Some of our synagogues have used hybrid models, using technology in different ways to gather together. But now that the pandemic, God willing, is receding and hopefully someday will be completely gone, we should really make a great effort to come back together and be together in the community. What the Torah is saying in Acharei this week is that if you didn't bring your sacrifices to the Holy Temple, then you would receive the punishment of karet, one of the worst punishments that there is, other than death, that you would be completely cut off from the Jewish people. Well, why is that? The rabbis explained to us that being cut off means that if you are not willing to go to the place that God chose, if you're not willing to go to the places that are designated holy, then when God's calling you to come for an appointment, to come and see Him, essentially what you're saying is, I'm not coming. I'll find you wherever I want. The rabbis looked at those sacrifices outside of the Holy Temple, essentially, even if it was a sacrifice intended for God, as avodah zarah. It was as if you were offering that sacrifice to another god. And the message here that was ultimately codified by Rabbi Karo in the Shulchan Aruch is that when God calls us at specific holy times, He wants us to come to the place that He chooses as holy. In ancient times, that was the Beit HaMikdash, the Holy Temple. But today, it's the place where our Torahs are, the place where the community gathers. So, I hope that as we are feeling safer and in accordance with our own health needs, we each recognize that as COVID recedes, it is better and it is more important and it is incumbent upon us, according to Jewish law, to come back to the synagogue, to be together, to pray together, to study together, and ultimately this is what's needed for the health of all of our communities. I pray as we read Acharei this week with Jews around the world that our communities remain strong, healthy, and that we all eventually will feel comfortable coming back and being together in the shul, in the synagogue. Have a great week.